feature presentation.
He'll be fire on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and driven by our friends and yours at Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at stokesvw.com. The JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Our history makes us bold. Our boldness makes history. Visit motleyrice.com. Here till 2 o'clock today. You can head to jbandgoldwatershow.com. Make sure you've downloaded our app, the JB and Goldwater Show app. It is very free and very popular. You can also follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB, and at Darren Goldwater. Our Share Healthcare text lines are open, and our chat lines, and Clint and Craig are already in them. So make sure that you send us a note wherever you are, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever app you might be utilizing if you are using one, and pop us a note, and we will make sure to plug you into our program, sharehealthcare.com. Don't get stuck with big medical bills. Make sure you check out sharehealthcare.com. So 3 guests today: Grace Raynor coming up at 12:30, David Shelton at 1:05, Scott Glaze at 1:30, 35-ish, somewhere in there. All big topics, because Clemson and Georgia play on Saturday night. We're hoping high school football plays on Friday night. There is the final leg of the PGA Tour postseason this weekend. Scott Glaze is going to have all of that for us, so we'll kind of set the table there. We got plenty to get to on the Gamecocks. There are games tonight, and it's a pretty good slate of games. And Darren and I will pick some of those here in just a little bit. The Braves, some baseball notes to pass along. It's another full day. And then, of course, tomorrow, on Friday, a football Friday here on the JB and Goldwater Show for the first hour. And then at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, the debut of the Big Gamecock Preview Show, very proudly brought to you by Motley Rice. So looking forward to all that, Darren. Football is basically returned. There was a game on last night. I did watch it, like probably many of us did, 6 straight days to open the college football season. What's up?
I watched it. I did not watch the whole thing. It wasn't exactly, the greatest display of football. I was surprised at the final score, though, when I checked that this morning. I'll say this. I was expecting to say something along the lines of, happy Thursday, football season's back. And then right before the show, I saw a message that my buddy's 6-year-old daughter is having back to the 90s night at school.
Ooh.
We can't be going back to the 90s yet, can we? I mean, we're not that old that we could be throwing it back to the 90s, and we're dressing our kids in 90s grunge.
So
I'm not that old.
No, I agree with you on premise, but I get it, because if I go back to college, let's say my freshman year of college, which is 17 years ago, I think, we had back to the 80s nights. And that was only 23 years, 24 years removed from, well, that was only 14 or 15 years actually removed from the last year of the 80s, 89.
So, I don't know. We had some 80s, but it's just making me feel old. That's it. It's making me feel
Oh,
old.
yeah.
And it's not like we need to be tossing stuff back to the 90s.
Yeah. We maybe we are getting old. I don't know. Ask all these guys. John, Greg, how old are y'all? Are we old compared to you? Maybe you're older than us. Maybe y'all are the old
I'm
guys.
old compared to you.
Yeah. Well, how old am I? I'm 35.
Yeah, that's when you know you're getting old. When someone asks you how old you are, you say, how old am I?
Yeah. See, Clint's 44. He's the old man.
Yeah, you are. I'm 40.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So here we go. Darren, let's run down the slate of games tonight in college football. We'll start it at 7 o'clock, and it's a Paul, even if you are 70, you don't look it. Okay, we'll just go out. We'll just go out there and tell you don't look 70 if you are 70.
Tigers keep them looking young.
Okay. All right. The Citadel and Coastal Carolina tonight at 7 on ESPN Plus. Hopefully, you get a chance to take a peek at the Dogs. They just played in the spring, of course. Did have a couple big wins, Wofford and Furman. Maybe that'll carry over. They do return a ton of starters. Jeff Hartzell kind of broke it down for us earlier this week. Coastal Carolina is a 33-point favorite in this ball game. The over-under sits at 55, and the Chants are in the top 25, 22 to open the 2021 season. Boise and UCF tonight at 7 on ESPN. This is part of our Post-Up Careers resume here on the JB and Goldwater show. Central Florida, 6.5-point favorites in this one. Expecting points, the over-under sits at 67.5. Could both of these teams be playing for the last time not members of the Big 12? That's something to ponder. We'll see what the future looks like. Again, ESPN, 7 o'clock from the Bounce House tonight in Orlando, Florida. South Florida and NC State tonight at Carter Finley and Raleigh. NC State maybe kind of looking to keep going what they kind of got going last fall. They had a turnaround of sorts under Dave Doran, but you just never know for whatever reason up there. Jeff Scott, Bobby Bentley down at South Florida, former Gamecock, former Tiger there with the Bulls, trying to get that program turned around. Is going to kick on the ACC network tonight at 7:30. East Carolina and App State, probably the game with the most interest in this state, because next Saturday, South Carolina will hit the road for Greenville, North Carolina to take on the Pirates. They are 9-point dogs tonight against App State. That's come down. Just a couple of days ago, it was 10.5 in favor of the Mountaineers.
That's come down since this morning when I made that graphic. I got it at 10 this morning.
So, yeah. So, that's interesting, right? I look, so if you're, and we'll actually, I tell you what, we'll circle back to that here in just a minute. Ohio State, Minnesota tonight at 8 on Fox from Minneapolis. Tennessee, the debut of Josh Heupel as the head football coach on Rocky Top from Neyland, 36.5-point favorites over Bowling Green. By the way, the closest line of any of them tonight, if you are into betting, is Eastern Washington and UNLV. Eastern Washington is in Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. And they're also 1.5-point favorites over UNLV in that one. The over-under is 67. So they're expecting this sucker to be about a 34-33 type game, probably a high-scoring type ball game or something like that out there if you're looking to bet on something. But let's come back to East Carolina and App State, and let's kind of circle this into South Carolina. So, look, if it's me, I'm paying attention to the ECU offense tonight. That's what I'm looking at. Because the Allers kid, who is the quarterback at East Carolina, this is his third year, I believe, as their starter. Rajay Harris, tailback from Duncan. I believe he played at Burns. He's had a nice career. They've also brought in a bunch of Power 5 transfers. Those names aren't at the top of my head at this point in time, Darren. But they are guys who are expected to help ECU a bunch this year, and they feel pretty good about their receiving core as well. So, you know, with South Carolina having a fresh secondary is a word that I'm going to use for them. It's a group of young men outside of Cam Smith. And, yeah, there's other guys who've played. I mean, Jalen Foster, he played last year. Obviously, R.J. Roderick's played a bunch in his tenure. He's been around a long time. Jalen Dickerson's been in and out of the lineup over his career because of injuries. But everybody else is pretty new to this thing. And there's just so many unknowns for South Carolina. So if you see ECU lighting up the sky tonight in Charlotte at Bank of America, there's probably going to be some Gamecock fans who get a little lump in their throat thinking, yeah, could this be tricky next week? The other side of that is, what do they look like on the line of scrimmage? Because if they're not very good up front, that's going to be a really good thing for South Carolina next week. The defensive line for the Gamecocks is already better than East Carolina's offensive line, but by how much? Mm-hmm. And can that overtake some of the production that is expected from their offense? The Gamecocks' offensive line is better than ECU's defensive line. By how much? Will that be something in 2 weeks? I'm not trying to skip ahead of the EIU boys this weekend, but as it pertains to what we see tonight in this East Carolina matchup, lines of scrimmage and how they execute that offense, I think, are going to be pretty important for Carolina to keep their eyes on.
Keep an eye out if you're watching that game too. It's not as though ECU can hold much back, right? Satterfield said yesterday that the Gamecocks, I forget the exact quote, but they're not in a position to hold anything back, right? You haven't earned that right yet. I agree with what Keith Alsep said. It's mostly coach speak. Of course they can hold something back. Of course the Gamecocks are not Saturday going to open up their entire playbook against Eastern Illinois. ECU does not have that luxury against App State. They are underdogs against App State. Yep. This would be a monumental way to pick up the momentum that they gained at the end of last season, ECU. Ride it right on into this game. You beat App State and look impressive doing it. There's going to be a large swell of national media saying the upset pick of the week in week 2 is ECU beating South Carolina, regardless of what the Gamecocks do on Saturday. ECU and Mike Houston will have the ability to, in an option sense, they can mask some of their deficiencies on the offensive line with some of how they're going to block. That's one of the reasons Houston's been successful everywhere he's been with some of the offensive schemes. So you got him beat talent-wise. You probably has him beat size-wise and physically. But how well coached up front are the Gamecocks and how well coached up front are ECU? We're not going to know those two answers, but that's something to pay attention to in this game. Just simply how good do they look? Because App State is a significant favorite. So does Vegas have it all wrong? Or is this an ECU team that can really make some noise at the group of 5 level? Personally, I'm paying attention to Ohio State. What does Ohio State look like this year? What's the new quarterback look like? How dominant is this Ohio State team going to be? Because the Big Ten is essentially opening at all league games. Basic. I mean, there's important games in league games all throughout the Big Ten. And Minnesota's another one of those teams that was down last year. Are they going to be bouncing back a little bit? That's by far the most intriguing game to me. What does Ohio State look like against Minnesota?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Is Ohio State in any jeopardy of losing this game?
They should not be in any jeopardy of losing. They are overwhelming favorites to make the college football playoff, and by doing that, they're winning the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota obviously is done quite well under PJ Fleck. I know last year, we got to kind of get a lot of what happened last year, even though it's still there still are good reference points from every team that played last year until we kick it off this year and see exactly what type of impact COVID truly had. I mean, was South Carolina as bad as they were last year? Was somebody else as good as they were? We just don't. We're not going to really know, probably more so until about the middle of this season, who some of these teams actually are and what last year's impact, good or bad, was and meant for each of these programs. Yeah, there's just so much interest. I mean, I certainly, from my perspective, am absolutely most interested in ECU and App State. I will be watching pretty much every play of this ball game because it is very important to South Carolina and whether they can start 2-0, which regardless of who they play would be pretty incredible. Being a little bit of a homer here, I'm also very interested in the Citadel and in Coastal Carolina. I mean, because there's Nate Ross. Nate Ross is calling the game tonight. All right. So Nate will be, if you're watching the game tonight, Nate's going to be on the call, him and Jeff McCarriger. Hopefully they won't be off playing cornhole somewhere in the middle of it. Just kidding, Jeff.
That's got to come up, right, Nate? I mean, if you're broadcasting any sport alongside McCarriger, there has to be a cornhole reference.
Yeah. Somebody's got to.
That's part of your job tonight.
Yeah, somebody's got to throw a sandbag at his head or something like that, right? So, I like the Dogs. I mean, I think the Citadel is due for a bounce back year at that level, and then obviously for Coastal Carolina, big favorites in the game, going to be favorites on maybe the large majority of games they play in this year. Certainly, folks want to see, okay, was that a flash in the pan or not? I don't think it was a flash in the pan. I like this team. Grayson McCall's really good, and he's going to be the topic of many conversations as it pertains to this program. But, Darren, I think that if you're a Chanticleers fan, you don't want to hear what I'm about to say, and I get it. But the national interest in this game and essentially every game that follows for Coastal is, where is Jamie Chadwell in the coaching pecking order of next guy up for a big gig out there somewhere? I mean, is it somewhere in the ACC? Is it somewhere in the SEC? Is it somewhere else? I don't have any of those answers. But if Coastal Carolina can get close to duplicating what they did last year, duplicate it or do better than that, is he still in Conway in 2022? And I think that answer is starting to lean much more towards no than yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was not too far off that he wasn't going to be back there this year. He was in the mix in a couple of places. I think I'll go back to what we talked with Gene Sapikoff about. I would rather have a coach who other people want than a coach who nobody wants. The fact that Jamie Chadwell, is motivating his guys with the idea of, listen, there might be the hunted mentality coming after us, but we're still hunters. We still have to go prove that what we did last year isn't a fluke. The fact that Jamie Chadwell is doing that, one of the reasons he wants to have success is personal. It has to be, right? Yeah. That's inherent. That's part of it. I'd rather my coach at that level be one of the hot names, because that means my team is good. That means my brand is out there. That means, and I'm sorry to say this, Jeff and Nate, that means the longer you go into the season, you don't have games on ESPN Plus. They're on ESPN2 and they're on ESPN, because you're getting more and more publicity and it's in front of more eyeballs, just like it was last year. You want that. I will say this for the Citadel. I love the Citadel holding this thing inside 30 points. And I'll tell you why. Jamie Chadwell, he's gone up against Brent Thompson for years, right? Yeah, going all the way back to the Charleston Southern times. So is Skaggs, the coordinator up there. And Brent Thompson has gone back and he has checked film from all of those games, trying to figure out exactly what was done against them in the years and years of matchups with Chadwell. And you haven't seen anything from Bulldog practice. My guess is the Coastal wins easily, comfortably, but I doubt they win by 30-something.
Yeah, 35, right? 33. 33 is the spread. The over-under sits at 55 there. Yeah, look, the Citadel, no matter what, is going to drain clock, but just because of the type of football that they play. So, I'd probably be slightly under that. I do think it's going to be a big win for Coastal. These guys know each other incredibly well. I'm very interested to hear both Jeff and Nate talk about that relationship tonight on that broadcast. It's a big talking point in this game. These guys and their familiarity with each other, not to mention they're only about an hour and 45 minutes apart, just up Highway 17. So, yeah, absolutely. Darren, haven't gotten to Boise and UCF yet. We'll get there in just a minute. But I do want to make sure that we mention a couple of other games that will matter down the road for Clemson and South Carolina. And one of those is NC State and South Florida. NC State, of course, is going to see former Clemson Tiger Jeff Scott, former South Carolina Gamecock, Bobby Bentley in that ball game. Jeff, the head coach of the Bulls. ACC Network again tonight at 7:30. So, we all talk about who's going to step up and challenge Clemson in the ACC. And that conversation continuously, as it stands today, leads to two programs, North Carolina and Miami. And if there's somebody else out there that surprises, that's great. But the strength of a league isn't always just at the top. Where's the middle class? Mm-hmm. How good is the middle class? How good are those, quote, blue-collar type programs? And, that's been my reason for a long time that in the SEC, although you might have a year where South Carolina is putrid or Vanderbilt is terrible or Ole Miss or Arkansas, for that matter, they didn't win a game for 2 years in the league. We know that the top is good, but that middle class is always pretty good in the SEC. And that's strength in numbers is the name of the game in the Southeastern Conference. That just hasn't been the case consistently enough in the ACC. I think we can all agree on that. I mean, I'm not saying that the league is bad every year, because it's not. I mean, there's actually a few years ago, I think the league was better than the Southeastern Conference, but consistently it's not. And I'm not saying that NC State is a team, Darren, at all that's going to challenge for the league title or the division title or anything like that. But are they on the right track to strengthen the middle class? NC State, Virginia Tech, who you're going to see tomorrow night against North Carolina at 6 o'clock on ESPN. Virginia. What's Georgia Tech going to do this year? Where the hell are they in all this? I mean, Boston College, Pittsburgh are two tricky teams that they feel like they kind of know who they are, but do they? We're going to find out a little bit more about Pittsburgh in week 2. They got Tennessee up there in Knoxville. And then we're going to certainly see a little bit of Tennessee tonight. They should blow Bowling Green out, but they lost 39 guys from last year's club, Darren. That's a lot. That's 40% of your team if you're including walk-ons. So, and that's half of your team if you're including scholarship guys. So, for NC State, back to NC State before I get to Tennessee, can they strengthen the middle class of the ACC this year? Are they good enough to do it? And yeah, guess what? In 4 weeks or whatever it is, they do welcome Clemson to town. And weird things happen sometimes. Is there anything that we see tonight or next week or anything that starts tonight and builds in the next couple of weeks that would lead us to think, okay, that is another hurdle on Clemson's schedule? And real quick, here's why that's important, Darren, and it might not matter. It might be a moot point come late Saturday night. But if the Tigers drop that opener to Georgia, they're on thin ice. And if you have a hiccup somewhere down the road, you're out. You're out. That's it. Your 2 losses, that's probably not going to get you in. So, I think that's important. And then for Tennessee, as it pertains to the Gamecocks, we talked a lot about this yesterday with JC, and I'll summarize this and throw it back over to you. But Tennessee, Missouri, Kentucky, South Carolina, not going to learn a lot about those teams this weekend as far as how good are they going to be this year. They all have opponents that they should wear out, and they should all be 1-0. But Tennessee, like the Gamecocks and like Vanderbilt and like Auburn, they have a new head coach, got a new system up there, new style. They're going to try to pitch it around a lot, and we will be able to tell a couple of things about Tennessee tonight. We will be able to see what they look like up front and stuff like that. How well coached are they? There's a couple of things we'll be able to figure out. So where are they in the middle class of the Southeastern Conference? And are they even in it?
Right. And how much can you really tell? The reason I'm not overly interested in either the NC State or Tennessee game is because it's going to be overmatched. I say that, and I'm also going to throw this in. I love to see how much the lines have moved since I made this about 3 hours ago. The Tennessee line is up to 37 now. The Citadel Coastal is down to 33. That App State line has inched down, I think, by half a point or a point. If I wasn't so darn busy this morning, I could have actually gotten some better numbers. That's besides the point. I don't know how much we learned from Tennessee because they're going to crush Bowling Green, right? I mean, we'll get a look at Milton. Hey, how's he look? We're going to see Josh Heupel put up a ton of points because they can. It's going to be hard to tell really who they are. It's going to be hard to tell really what this NC State team's about. As the year goes along, everything you said is true and important. Are these teams going to strengthen the middle of the pack in their respective leagues? Tonight, the closer ones, the ones with importance on the night in the beginning of the season, to me, that's the Ohio State-Minnesota game. Boise, UCF, you want momentum if this Big 12 is going to expand. If that's going to happen, you'd like a little momentum before that happens. Both of you are already in the mix. This is an important game for both of them too. So that's kind of my mindset heading into the night.
Yeah, huge. Look, Gus Malzahn makes his debut tonight for UCF, and I'm a Gus Malzahn fan. I really like him, and I think he is going to be. I think he's the best coach they've had, to be honest with you. I mean, George O'Leary worked wonders down there. Once he got that thing fixed and turned around, he really worked wonders down there. Scott Frost, obviously, with what he did with the program, look, Josh Heupel was successful, but was it trending in the wrong direction when he got out of there and headed to Knoxville? We'll never know. But he wasn't overly successful. I mean, it's not like last year, they didn't lose a game. I mean, they have had their hiccups over the last couple of seasons under Josh Heupel. So, I think of all those guys, Gus Malzahn's the best coach. I really do. And if he's the best coach of all of them, and they're building all this stuff, and they're recruiting and this, that, and the other, I mean, it's a guy that knows how to recruit in the SEC. So, does he know how to recruit to Central Florida? And you'd like to think, well, he recruited at Auburn, he recruited at Central Florida. Yeah, it doesn't always translate.
But they've put a ton of money in. I mean,
they have.
Yeah. The new AD's got all these plans. Absolutely. So if he can't do that, that's a big problem for UCF. Yeah. So everything you said is true. If he can't pull those things off, that's why he was hired. That's why Darren Stoltz was asked him about the pressure cooker, then bought him one. He's expected to do that. He's going to have every resource available to him to do that. If he can't, that's a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to that one tonight. Here, a couple quick picks. By the way, let me answer Craig's question here. What if Clemson has only one ACC loss, loses to Georgia, but wins the AC? It's hard to predict these things. I still think they're out. I think they're out. I think if they have 2 losses, unless their schedule gets increasingly better, I don't see it. Because the SEC champ is going to be in. We know that. SEC could have the SEC champ and the SEC champ loser in. The Big Ten champ is going to be in. Oklahoma is looking really good for this thing. Obviously, if they are able to win the Big 12, Iowa State is looking really good for this thing if they're able to win the Big 12. And then you've also got Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's not a part of the ACC. I don't know what they're going to be, but I with 2 losses, if you just based on history. Dice it however you want to. Doesn't matter to me. You got 2 losses, you're probably not going to be in there.
It's going to be really, really hard. It will depend on who you lost to and how, and it'll depend on the rest of the country and where the chips are falling. But if Clemson loses to Georgia and loses an ACC game before the ACC championship, it's an uphill fight. It's possible, but it's an uphill fight.
Yeah, it's a big uphill fight. And they'd also have to hope that whomever they beat in the ACC championship game is either like 11-1 or undefeated. And that's going to be, either probably North Carolina or Miami, right? So, I don't know. All right, some quick picks here because tonight is Thursday. We generally pick games on Friday, but there are games tonight that are noteworthy. We just discussed all of them. And so Darren and I will run this down. We'll put it on our season tally as we do every year, which is only 2 years with our show. Quickly here, I think I know where you're going to go on this, and I think you know where I'm going on this. Citadel, Coastal.
Oh, yeah, Coastal. My guess is we are going to be in line, maybe, with all of these.
Probably, yeah, I would say so. All right, Boise State, UCF, 7 o'clock, ESPN. Right, 6.5-point favorites is UCF, by the way.
Yeah, I'm going to go Boise to go win UCF after everything I just said.
Wow. Yeah, we're not on the same page. I think that I do think UCF wins tonight, like Boise. But I think that I think if this game was played in Boise, I'd pick Boise, honestly. But I'm going to give it to the bounce house. I think the crowd is jumping and all this, that, and the other. South Florida and NC State. NC State 19-point favorites here. I've got the Wolfpack.
Yeah, I got the Wolfpack. I don't know if they're going to cover. I'm not going to touch that game, but I do have the Wolfpack.
East Carolina and App State, it's come down, but the Mountaineers are still 9-point favorites. 7:30 ESPNU from Bank of America in Charlotte tonight.
I'm going ECU in this one, and I'm going ECU maybe even by a touchdown. I love Houston, love what they did at the end of last year, and I expect, as I've been saying for a long time, I expect this to be a good ECU team.
Interesting. I'm with App State here. I'm going to go with App State. Believe it's pretty close. I think it's under. I think it's a touchdown, and I think it's in favor of the Mountaineers. We will not pick Bowling Green in Tennessee because Bowling Green will be bowled over by the Vols, but we will pick Ohio State, 4th-ranked Ohio State, 13.5-point favorites on the road. Row the boat. Row the boat. Minnesota, Fox tonight, 8 o'clock from TCF Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. Who you got?
Yeah, that line's come down too. I've got Ohio State, and my guess is they cover easily.
Yeah, I've got Ohio State. I think Minnesota keeps this thing close for a while, though. I don't know why. It's a sneaky feeling. There's a couple of they got some players up there, and but I think overall Ohio State, especially in the trenches, wins out, and I think they end up covering that, and they win the game. But Minnesota is probably going to have another pretty decent year up there under PJ Fleck. The tie is going to be good. Should be betting on what color tie he wears.
That's going to be the goldish, orangish combination that Minnesota like pukes out for their colors.
Oh, okay.
Whatever it is.
I'm with you.
Sorry if I offended Minnesota fans who are watching.
I don't think we got many of them around here. No big deal. All right, there you go. A few games on the docket tonight. A lot of them on the docket tomorrow. Certainly right here on the JB and Goldwater show. Don't get stuck with big medical bills or stuck with a health care program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. ShareHealthcare.com. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to share or to show who you are at Share Healthcare. Join us today at ShareHealthcare.com. Nate, Clint, Craig, so many of you already on the Share Healthcare chat lines today. We certainly appreciate that. But on the Share Healthcare phone lines coming back, it's Grace Raynor with the Athletics. She'll preview Georgia and Clemson right here on the JB and Goldwater show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at ShareHealthcare.com. ShareHealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater show and the Big Gamecock Preview show.
Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon. Greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard. Yeah, nobody wants to work. It's football season, 12:34 on a Thursday afternoon. We've gone over the Thursday night slate. The three of us have to work during football season, that's for sure. It's kind of what drives the truck in sports. And this young lady is always working hard and always working exceptionally well for all of you. Grace Raynor, covering Clemson with The Athletic, joining us now on the Share Healthcare phone lines. Hey, Grace.
Hello, how are y'all doing?
We miss you around here. Where have you been? What have you been up to?
Oh man, just there's a big game this week, so I've heard. So, just getting ready for that.
I heard about that.
Yeah,
that's
that App State ECU game. I mean, gosh.
Yeah. I'm always fascinated. Atlanta, now Charlotte's in the mix doing this. Atlanta's been doing it. They have these big games to open the season on Saturday in Atlanta. They turn around and do it again on Monday night. Charlotte's doing it on a Thursday and Saturday. But of all of the four teams that'll be up there, I think it'll be heavily in favor of the orange and red of Clemson and Georgia, certainly, Grace. Well, welcome. Happy football season. For those that are members to The Athletic, you obviously get to read Grace's fine work. There's an amazing story out that you and Seth Emerson did on this rivalry, this Georgia-Clemson rivalry, which, by the way, should be played every year. But I want to talk to you about another story, Grace, to lead off today. DJ Uiagalelei. There is it's on your Twitter page right now. It's up on theathletic.com. He's not nervous. I want people to read the story, but tell us about DJ and what you have found out about his life.
Sure. First of all, I'm very impressed. You guys always get DJ's last name correct. A lot of people that I go on radio hits with kind of labor through it. So kudos to the Uiagalelei, very smooth delivery on your part. But we've been getting to know DJ because last year we only talked to him on Zoom, and of course he was Trevor Lawrence's backup. And so this year I feel like we're actually starting to get to know him a little bit. And he had said something at ACC Media Day in July about how, because someone had asked something along the lines of feeling the pressure of Clemson, Georgia, which I think that's a natural assumption that, of course, you've got a new quarterback. This is Clemson's first top 5 season opener in Dabo Swinney's career. DJ's taken over for the winningest quarterback in program history. I mean, there are, I don't think anyone would blame him if he was nervous about this. And he had just said, I don't really get nervous playing football. Football is fun for me. And when I think of pressure, I think of providing for your family and, making rent consistently. And the more that I got to know DJ and got to know his mom and kind of his story and how his mom carried 6 babies as a surrogate to provide for their family, you just kind of understand a little bit more what he meant by that. And so I think it was enjoyable to kind of get a glimpse into his life in that way. And his teammates had been giving him a hard time about not getting his driver's license until he was 20 years old. But the truth behind that was that his mom couldn't afford car insurance. So there's just a lot of layers to DJ that I think that I think we're getting to learn about right now.
He's got enormous expectations and he has created those for himself based on his play. You're kind of already summarizing him, but his teammates, his peers, those guys that you talk to a lot, Grace, when they walk in the interview room, how do they feel about DJ?
I haven't heard any. I've only heard good things about teammates and how they feel about DJ. I mean, everything that we've been told from his teammates is that he very much has the kind of laid back California vibe. His roommate, Brian Brzee, gives him a hard time about his fashion choices. But he seems to really command the respect of any room that he walks into. And I think Trevor was a lot like this as well, where both of them would rather let their play show you what you need to know about them. And of course, there are going to be times when they're going to have to get on their teammates. And that's something that coaches have talked to DJ about this offseason is, hey, you are so cool and so chill and so nice, but there are going to be times when you have to be a little bit more vocal and kind of step up in that regard. And so that's something that he's working through. But yeah, I think he's just got a really laid back personality, and I've never gotten the sense that DJ is, begging for the spotlight or wanting more attention than his teammates because he's the starting quarterback of what we all think will be a college football playoff contending team. I think his mom said this a lot, like he's just DJ. And DJ said that a lot. I'm just DJ. And I think that's why his teammates really, really like him so much.
If there's pressure on him and he doesn't feel it, is there any pressure around the program? Is Dabo feeling it? Are any coordinators feeling it? Because this is a big game. If Clemson doesn't look good, then there's very little opportunity to change the narrative of, Clemson slipping. Last time we saw them on a national stage, they didn't look good. Now they didn't look good. And now we've just got these ACC opponents to go through. Is there pressure outside of Uiagalelei?
I think that we all know what is kind of on the line for Clemson here, but I don't think that they are feeling that internally. In fact, Dabo was talking, I don't even know what day it is anymore, but I guess it was Tuesday. He was talking about how, because someone had asked about Brent Venables and whether or not he was kind of been stewing this summer and kind of ready to avenge that narrative. And Dabo was like, we're not in the narrative. Like, we don't do narratives here. Surely Clemson knows, like, hey, this could be a preview of the playoffs. So much of this game is going to use a measuring stick, just like you guys said, like, how we look at Clemson a lot is going to be dictated by this game. But I think that there's some genuine excitement for this game. And I think Clemson, they've just been in this situation so many times before that while, yes, this is a huge, huge game, it's not like this is something that's brand new to them.
Mm-hmm. Have they ever had I'm trying to think, Grace, and if I'm missing something I'm like you, I'm forgetting what day it is, but have they ever had a top 5 matchup to open the season?
They have not. No. 1982 came close.
Okay.
It was Georgia was 7 and Clemson was 11. But this is their first to open the season.
Wow, it's incredible. It's also incredible is the reality. It is possible. It might be very unlikely, but it is possible both these teams could play Saturday night, and they could also play again in the college football playoff if things work out for whichever team loses on Saturday. So. You mentioned narratives. I'm not necessarily calling this a narrative at all, but there is conversation swirling across the country that potentially this is the best defense that's ever been there under Dabo Swinney, and obviously that would mean under Brent Venables. Is it?
I think it's possible for sure. I mean, we all know what the 2018 unit did. Those guys were just incredible. I think when you look across the board, especially up front, I think Clemson's got more depth this year on defense than they did in 2018. I don't know talent-wise kind of how those two teams will end up faring against each other. We'll have to obviously see how this season plays out. But Dabo was talking about, especially like when you look at his defensive ends, he's got 5 guys that he feels like he could start. And that reminds him a lot of the 2014 group he had. And then you look at his defensive tackles, and that reminds him a little bit more of 2018. And just they have the bodies. And I think what's so interesting about this defense is that they return 9 of 11 starters. And yet, I don't know if other people share this sentiment, but at least I have felt like it still feels like a completely new group just because they're getting back to their strengths up front. And I think that just alleviates things for the rest of the defense on the back end.
So what's the story on Tyler Davis? Do you have any scoop there?
I do not. Dabo was asked about Tyler Davis last night. There were some message board rumors going around. Dabo was asked pretty point blank, can you confirm he'll be out Saturday? Dabo said, I can't confirm. I'm not going to confirm anything. Clemson is going to, basically the way they did it last year was on Saturdays, they put out a list of unavailable players, and it looks like that's what they're going to be doing again this year. Obviously COVID is still going around the country. So that was kind of their policy last year, was not really revealing why someone was out, but just, hey, here's who's out, here's who's available. This is the list. So I anticipate that will be the case again Saturday night.
But they did release a depth chart, right? I'm pretty sure I saw a depth chart. Yeah, I saw a depth chart. Okay. All right. Yeah. So
yeah.
So that's fair. Darren and I we meant to get into this earlier in the week, Darren, and we forgot to do it. I think that's more than fair on Clemson's side. They release a depth chart, and then they give you on game day when they know officially a list of available players. Am I correct in this? Georgia isn't even issuing a depth chart. Is that true?
That is correct. And I think that's why we've seen a little bit of gamesmanship with Georgia and Clemson this week, because if you look at Clemson's depth chart, they did technically release it, but it's the exact same as preseason camp, with the exception of an offensive lineman who has a season-ending injury that we know about is now no longer on it. But, that's basically it. And so I think that, Clemson kind of saw, at least from my view, it seems like Clemson saw Georgia, okay, you're not going to release one? All right, well, here's what we've got for you. And I think it was kind of a genius move, in my opinion, by Clemson, because now you get to say, well, we're not big, bad Georgia. We released one, but no one's really learning anything from their depth chart because it's the exact same, and there's 40 players listed at certain starting positions.
And it's or everywhere. It's or all the way down the depth chart. Let me ask you this, though. I know my feelings on it just as a broadcaster. From a media side, from the script side of it, does it bug you that much about the depth chart thing? I mean, because at the end of the day, the teams know who's going to be out there. You're going to be there, and you can see who's out there. So how important is this, and how silly is this?
Yeah, I have been kind of entertained by it this week. The kind of Georgia's not doing it. Clemson, here's an old one. I mean, Clemson usually puts one out. But as a media person, I don't really get worked up either way. I mean, for a couple of reasons. Number one, these guys are trying to go win games, and if they feel like holding things close to the vest is going to allow them to do that, then whatever, have at it. And number two, I feel like I'm around the team enough to understand kind of who's going to play where,
right?
And know what's going on. So it's not one of those things where I'm like, oh my gosh, how dare they, And if anything, I think it creates fun conversation about, okay, here's who I think is going to start. Readers, what do you think? What's your read on this?
12:47 on a Thursday afternoon. Grace Raynor with The Athletic joining us. Georgia Clemson is coming up this weekend. So I know that we're not going to know until Friday, but can you just help the conversation a little bit? Justin Ross obviously is been in pretty good shape, and they're really excited for him. Preseason, everything. Who else do you know of that at least has been banged up or had some issues that might be teeter-tottering as to whether they play or don't play?
The big one that I'm looking at is Nolan Turner, the super senior safety. We got to see practice a few times, and I saw Nolan in the yellow jersey, I think at least twice. So Brent Venables had said that he practiced last Friday and Saturday. Brent Venables said hopefully he's good to go. So that's the one I'm curious about is just where is he, and is he going to be available? And I think that Clemson has bodies to kind of make up for that if Nolan can't go. But obviously this is a multi-year starter. He's a veteran. These are the kind of guys that Clemson wants starting for them on this stage, with this type of pressure. So Nolan is the big one that I've got my eye on.
All right, so let's talk about the game, Grace. These are two fantastic football teams. Georgia has certainly had some issues leading up to the season opener with some injuries of their own. Eric Gilbert is, from what I understand, still away from the game. Of course, if they're not listing a depth chart, who knows? He might just step on the field on Saturday night. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. I don't think that's going to happen. What is from a matchup standpoint, and all the research you've done, the conversations you've had, where does Clemson feel like they maybe have the biggest advantage, and where maybe do they feel like they might have a deficit?
I think when you look at just Clemson's personnel and Georgia's personnel, Georgia is built to stop the run, and we know that Clemson's weakness last year was its offensive line and its offensive line depth. Specifically, and they specifically had a really hard time with run blocking. And so I think, not to totally oversimplify it, but I think that this matchup in many ways just comes down to which offensive line holds up better. I mean, both defensive lines are huge. Tony Elliott was saying, you look at Clemson versus Notre Dame last year, they rushed for 34 yards. They were too one-dimensional and they lost. And I think that it's such an interesting cat and mouse game for Tony because on the one hand, you really want and need to get the run game going to open everything up for DJ and this offense. But on the other hand, do you want to force the issue against a team that for the last 2 years in a row has had the number one rushing defense in the country? So I don't know if that completely answers your question, but I do think that in terms of just the most important matchup for Clemson, I do think it's their offensive line versus Georgia's defensive line. But then when I think you look at Clemson's strengths, their own defensive line is loaded, as we've talked about for a long time. Their linebacking group has really good depth. And on the back end, I know everyone has kind of asked questions about what has happened to Clemson in the last two playoffs. The secondary has been kind of exposed against these big-armed quarterbacks. But they've got some guys that they really believe in. And I think that's the other matchup I'm most interested in seeing is JT Daniels and those Georgia wide receivers against Clemson secondary.
Fact or fiction here, the two quarterbacks playing in this game on Saturday night will also be at the Heisman Trophy ceremony in December.
Oh, I will say, I think it's possible DJ is not to rail on Dan on Jason. I mean, right now, I feel like if we look at the odds, what is it? Rattler, Sam Howell, and DJ have the three highest quarterback odds. So, but I am really curious. I'm excited to see JT Daniels. I mean, his sample is small, but he threw for more than 300 yards a game in his 4 games last year. He threw for 392 against Cincinnati. I mean, this dude has a big arm, so I won't be surprised by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm not sold on him yet. Darren and I've had these conversations a lot. I think he's a great quarterback, and I think if Georgia, Grace, you know this very well. Clearly, you have to have an elite quarterback to win the national championship. We all know that Georgia. They fired Mark Richt because he couldn't win a national championship, and Kirby Smart has gotten him just as far as Mark Richt got him, basically. So you got to have an elite guy, a difference maker there. I just don't know if he's that guy yet. I mean, we'll see. He might light up the night on Saturday. He might not. I don't know what he's going to do, but I'm not sold just yet. I got to see it.
Let me ask you this, Grace. My father-in-law, and this wasn't from one of your articles, but I'm sure, and I didn't have time. I was late to actually reading what he sent me, but it was cool. It's the relationship between JT Daniels and DJ Uyunglele back into their high school days. Do you have more on that? Can you expound on that and the relationship between these two guys that dates way back?
Yeah, they played each other, I think once. I'm not sure if it was more than once, but they played each other in high school. JT is obviously a little bit older, but I think what's cool about their friendship connection is that we're seeing all of these West Coast quarterbacks come to the Southeast. You've got Bryce Young at Alabama. He and DJ played against each other many times. You've got JT at Georgia, DJ at Clemson. And so they're really bringing in this wave of Southern California talent into the ACC and the SEC. And I think they feel connected in that way. And then, I just think anytime that you've got two big-armed quarterbacks who have played each other, who know each other, who are friendly with each other, it just kind of adds to the compelling nature of this matchup. I don't know a ton about their specific friendship, and I believe DJ maybe said they hadn't talked a lot about the matchup. But yeah, I think it's super cool that, you've got basically two guys from the same area playing on a national stage thousands of miles away in Charlotte.
Can you believe we're even having this conversation? Let's go back to 2005. Could you ever dream of the best quarterbacks in the country leaving the state of California for the state of South Carolina? That's embarrassing for Southern Cal and UCLA, man. It's embarrassing.
It's crazy. Think about it. Like, DJ has not been shy about the fact that he grew up a huge Reggie Bush fan.
Yeah.
His family has not been shy about the fact that they grew up huge USC fans. And so it just goes to show, I think, the power of recruiting and the way that the landscape of college football has changed, and that if these California Pac-12 schools are going to catch up and keep their talent at home, they got to start competing.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. Win. I mean, when you win like Clemson has won, you do what they're doing. I mean, they're recruiting from everywhere. Southern Cal and Texas used to do the same exact thing, and Clemson has I don't know if they've replaced them essentially, but they've kind of replaced somebody in that pecking order. All right. Before we let you run here, we do want to. I do want to talk a little bit about Will Shipley. I know that Lynn J. Dixon is and Kobe Pace are probably set at least initially to get the load of carries back there. Proven guys, incredible talents. But there's been a lot about him, and one of the things, Grace, that I'm always interested in for young football players when you hear how talented they are is, but are do they understand what they're doing out there? Because talent, unfortunately, at this level, as you know, is only going to take you so far. Like you got to be able to pick it up and go play. But so from what I hear in the reporting of this great Raynor girl from The Athletic is this kid's pretty sharp and he knows what's going on, and they've been able to plug him all over the place, and he can catch it, he can run, he can do all types of things. So what do you expect from him on Saturday, his role maybe in the game, and how that kind of relays itself to the future, how it projects itself?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at Shipley, and I don't see a scenario in which he does not play and is not a huge factor for Clemson really all season. I mean, the way that they have talked about him, they have never once talked about him like they would a true freshman. He came right in, mentally processed everything really quickly. He's so versatile. You could use him as a running back. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. You want to have him run a wheel route, go for it. He just seems to have such a unique skill set, and combined with the fact that he mentally is exactly where Clemson wants him to be, I don't think I will be. In fact, I know I will not be surprised if at some point he wins the starting running back job. Obviously we need to see it, and we need to see, he hasn't played in a while. He didn't play a senior season because of the virus. And I think we'll get a good kind of barometer on where he is once Clemson plays Georgia, because, it's going to show up pretty quickly one way or the other. But I think Shipley is the future of this position at Clemson. And it's hard to really overstate how much Clemson has just heaped praise on him.
I did see on this, whatever you want to call it, type depth chart for the Tigers, maybe Michael Dukes is gonna get this, to return kicks. Is that true? Is he set to be the first guy out there to return all the kicks?
I think it's possible he's in the mix. He missed parts of fall camp. He was late to preseason camp. I'm not exactly sure why. I think Dabo said it was his fault. I don't know exactly what that entails, but if I had to guess, I would guess that they would maybe go. I think right now they basically have all their running backs listed. I wouldn't be surprised to see Shipley back there, but Dixon, I think, is the most experienced there.
Okay, all right. We wanted to mention him. He's a low country guy. Obviously played for Johnny Waters at First Baptist, and certainly good kid, good family. All right. Before we let you run here, we know all the big names. Give us a name that everybody's not talking about that they will be talking about after Saturday night.
Let's see. I mean, I don't know if this counts because everyone loves him, but a Joe, I think you have to say with Clemson. People know who he is, but I think right now they know who he is because he has incredible dance moves and he has such a unique name. I think Saturday they will know who he is as a wide receiver.
They got there's some interesting names out there. If you can get through this roster and pronounce them all correctly, you owe yourself a Bojangles biscuit or something. All right, Grace.
Yes.
You owe yourself a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts or something like that. Have fun. I know you know Charlotte quite well, and it's going to be an amazing atmosphere up there. Stay safe, obviously. We certainly appreciate your time. We love your reporting, and really looking forward to watching this game on Saturday night. We can't wait to speak to you soon.
Yeah, thank you all so much for having me. Appreciate you.
Always. Grace Raynor with The Athletic, previewing the biggest game in the country Saturday night. Georgia, Clemson, Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina on ABC. I believe Fowler, Herb Street. I think they've got that game. So
absolutely they do.
Looking forward to that. All right, got to hit a timeout. The local version of Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit is Darren Goldwater and Dean Stevens. They're going to call a high school game tomorrow night, and hopefully some other high school games are playing. We'll have to get an update, and we'll get that from David Shelton right here on the JB and Goldwater show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater show and the Big Gamecock Preview show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clemson-UGA, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and to others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Low Country. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clemson-UGA, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
JB Goldwater Show. Live, loud, and online.
Final hour, the JB and Goldwater show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes, not just cases, motleyrice.com. You can head to the jbandgoldwatershow.com to check us out as well. Make sure you've downloaded our app, the JB and Goldwater app. Follow us on social media, believe it or not, at JB and Goldwater. Individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. Up next on the Share Healthcare phone lines, our friend David Shelton with the Post and Courier, and we have no idea who's playing anywhere, so we're just going to have to ask him.
Yeah, well, we don't know who's playing anywhere. We don't know where they're playing, and we don't know where David is. All signals, bat signals out for Shelton. We'll get with him.
Okay. All right. What game do you have tomorrow night on TV?
Dorman and Fort Dorchester.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Got a top 10 5A matchup in South Carolina. The two, I was going over some numbers just last night, really. The two coaches have combined for well over 500, if not pushing 600 career wins, couple of state championships. The last 6 years, remember I said this when I go back and I put like groups together of years. I generally don't include last year. So the last 6 years between 2014 and 2019, hang on, let me grab this. LaPrade and Fort Dorchester 71-10 over the last 6 years with a title and 2 semis. And Gutshall over the last 6 years is 66-18 with 3 runners up, one of which to Fort Dorchester, and 2 quarterfinal losses. So 2 programs that have been as good and as consistent as anybody else in the state of South Carolina.
Wow. Yeah, that's and Zoltan Osborne is the quarterback for Fort Dorchester. And I know you've been prepping on him. I think he was named the Post and Courier's Low Country Player of the Week on offense for his performance last week.
Yes.
So certainly looking forward to watching him play tomorrow night. He's on some college radars out there. So if you're looking for a local high school quarterback to kind of wrap your arms around, Zoltan Osborne might be that guy tomorrow night at 7:30 on My TV Charleston.
Yeah, he went for 300, 30 yards, couple of touchdowns last week. Fort Dorchester's got a loaded roster like they always have. A couple of defensive linemen that are getting some looks. I'll talk to both coaches tomorrow. Not sure exactly of who is available and who's not available for Dorman, but at least as of now, they're coming. So everyone's good to go. I haven't heard anything along those lines.
Again, correct me if I'm wrong here, because I know that this stuff is changing a lot due to COVID. Wando still is at Summerville tomorrow night, correct?
As far as I know, we have David now, so maybe he can add to that.
Oh, well, there he just finishing up a bowl of mac and cheese somewhere. David Shelton with the Post and Courier. What's up, man?
Yeah, see, that's what I meant when I said we have him now.
Can you hear us?
No, we might not have him. I'll try and get him back.
Okay. All right. So Wando and Summerville scheduled to play tomorrow night. Some of the low country games that I'm going to pass along to you here, and then obviously there's some big games across the state. West Ashley and Goose Creek is interesting as long as that game's still being played. West Ashley is a program that's come a long way. Who exactly is Goose Creek going to be this year? You got BE and James Island scheduled to go tomorrow night at 7:30 over on Daniel Island. Bishop England is winless. They are 0-2 to crank up 2021. Oceanside Collegiate Academy is also 0-2. They got C.E. Murray. That should be a win for Joe Call and OCA. You got him now?
Think so.
There he is.
Hello.
Hey, David. Hey, man.
How's it going?
Just because we're late getting to you every single time doesn't mean you can miss a call.
It's a busy time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what?
I saw the call the first time when I was on the call, and I couldn't get the guy that I was on the call with to hang up. So the second time you called, or just now, I just hung up on him. So I probably made somebody mad just for you.
Thank you.
Investigating that Bishop Sycamore story. All right, so
I'm gonna start tweeting out every time I'm gonna be on the JB and Goldwater show about 10 minutes before I'm supposed to be on. Do not call me. Nobody call me. No coach. I don't. Guys. I have guys texting me, asking me to help them find a game.
Oh,
I'm now a game broker.
Are you charging for that?
Crazy. And I just got one that said, "Can you find me a JV game?" I'm like, "Come on now."
Phew. You charging for that? This could be a business. This could be a lucrative opportunity for you.
Well, my basic standard blanket response is call Bishop Sycamore. That's
yes.
Yeah, they're looking for games. There's no question.
They will play anybody, anywhere, anytime, twice in a weekend. It don't matter.
Well,
they could play Somerville. They could play Somerville on Friday and play Wando on Monday.
Monday? Might as well. They're Friday, Sunday guys, David. They don't wait all the way till 2 days off. Are you kidding me? That's an eternity. They only need 24 hours. That's what they say.
Well, those 21-year-olds, they don't need much time.
No. It reminds me of when I was playing Little League Baseball when I was 12 and we got to the state championship game and the starting pitcher for the opposing team from Florence parked his car, walked onto the field, and started pitching. We were 12
years old.
What's that?
I think he's an illegal player.
Yeah. That's what, oh, his birth certificate is good, guys. Oh, yeah? It's not doctored? You sure the crayon isn't the giveaway? Nope. We'll just let him play.
The Danny Almonte of Florence.
Yeah, he was. It was what a story. I'll have to tell you about that one day. All right, so I'm pretty. Hell, we got our ass beat, and that was a good team, man. We hadn't lost anybody. That was the Ciscos and the Havens and the Dawson Smith. I mean, we were loaded with talent. We had beat. We 10-run ruled everybody, and then this team showed up, and they had mustaches and children and
children.
I mean, I'm telling you, this is the most unbelievable thing. I'll sit you down one day and tell you about it. Mike Cisco tells the story better than anybody. It was unbelievable. All right. So let's start here in the Low Country. We're going to play a little game called "Is It Still On?" So is Wando and Somerville still on tomorrow night?
Tomorrow, yes. Yes.
All right. So Wando wins 75-0.
On Thursday. What?
Yeah. Wando will win 75-0.
Oh my God.
He wasn't watching Friday Night Rivals.
Yeah, that was look, when you play that bad and you win like that, that's David, you know how it is. You're a coach. If you play terrible and you still win by a bunch, there's something to be proud of.
I never apologize for winning.
No.
Yeah. No. No. A little bit of a different test this week, though, for Wando in the Green Wave. So Somerville, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a second, though. Somerville, props to them, right? Because they pick up the Gaffney game. They hit the road last minute, no prep at all on the Gaffney Indians. Of course, Gaffney didn't have any prep on them either, but Gaffney's the better football team. So some prep probably would have done Somerville some good. But they couldn't do it. This COVID thing is throwing everybody off. But what do you – I don't know if you've talked to anybody out there this week, but, what did they learn about themselves in that game?
Well, I mean, I think going in they knew – I mean, I said this, that their offense was way behind. Got a lot of new guys on offense. Their defense was going to be competitive. Got a good defensive line, got a good secondary. And a lot of those guys made a lot of plays. And that game was competitive until the fourth quarter. Somerville – basically ran out of gas. I mean, that's what Ian Rafferty said. We ran out of gas. And not that he was saying we would have won the game had we not run out of gas. But, I think at one point they were about to kick a field goal to tie it in like the second quarter or something. And they got blocked. And then Gaffney went down and scored and kind of opened it up a little bit. And they would not, I mean, I hate to sound negative, but they could play Gaffney in November and would not beat Gaffney. That was a very, very tough opener, and it's even tougher when you basically find out at 12 o'clock on Thursday that you're going to play at 7:30 on Friday.
Right.
So the fact that Gaffney had played a game, that Gaffney is really good, I don't think Somerville I didn't think Somerville could go up there and win the game or be competitive. They were competitive for a bit, but Gaffney was just better.
Well, Wando was
just keep hanging your hat on it.
They won. They're going to win tomorrow night. All right. Not 75-0, but it's going to be like 35-0, something like that.
They will not score 35 points. They will not score 35 points on Somerville.
They gotta figure out their quarterback situation. They're not gonna be able to just turn around and hand it to Des Loring, who's a hell of a player, but they're not just gonna be able to hand it off all game.
No, they got some work to do, but it was a win, and it was a rivalry win, but I mean, I don't think anybody that watched it, including Darren, we weren't looking at two great, outstanding high school football teams on Friday night.
No.
But somebody's got to win a game. You guys got to win. So Wando won.
Yeah, that's generally the way it goes. We'll get to Dorman and Fort D in a minute. I do want to ask you about, again, playing this little game called Is It Still On? I do want to ask you about Porter Gowd hitting the road for Hammond. Obviously, Eric Kimrey's now on staff at South Carolina. I don't know a lot about Hammond at this point in time. I do know they're 1-0, and I do know, obviously, that Porter Gowd is 2-0. No offense to Bishop England. and no offense to Burke, but they ain't beat anybody because BE ain't very good and Burke is not good. But they are 2-0. So, I don't know how much that means, but did they have a chance at Hammond tomorrow?
Well, Hammond's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I would say they got a puncher's chance. I mean, they can go and make it competitive with the way they run the football. But Hammond, Hammond's got the best back in the state, CJ Stokes.
Yep, no doubt.
And he's really good. And going to Michigan, and he is a guy that can be the difference maker. And John Wheeler's the head coach, and he was on staff there for a number of years and went and became a head coach somewhere else. And when Kimry left, he came back. So very familiar with the program, been a part of the program. He was the defense coordinator, and they won all those championships. So they have a drop off in talent. I mean, obviously Muschamp's kid's not there at quarterback, and he would have been a sophomore, and he's a really good player. But they do have CJ Stokes, and he's good. So I think Porter-Gaud's best shot. One, they cannot turn the ball over, and they have been running the ball very effectively in the first 2 weeks. I mean, really doing a good job in the run game, and they have to be able to run the ball. They don't throw it great, but that they can run it and eat some clock and score touchdowns. Yeah, they got a shot, but that's easier said than done. I'm just saying that's what they got to do. They can't be much 3 and out, because that means Hammond's going to pitch it to Stokes and danger Will Robinson.
We had that game last year, and Porter-Gaud struggled to stop CJ Stokes.
Yeah, that was bad. That was here, right? Wasn't that game down here?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were not there, but that game.
A lot of people struggled to stop CJ Stokes. I think he had some ungodly number of yards in the first half last week. I don't even know if he played the second half, but he's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to see some video of him. And he's got some power. He's got some speed. He's built pretty good. He's going to be a really good running back in college.
I'm still a little. I'm not actually confused at all. I like to follow recruiting. I don't really get emotionally invested in it. I think it's kind of crazy to freak out over 17-year-olds and the decisions they're making. But I think a lot of people, and they have recently maybe heard CJ Stokes speak a little bit more on his future. But I do think that there was this presumption that, well, gosh, now that Kimry's on staff at Carolina, he ain't going anywhere. He's staying right there. And it actually seemed like he had a better relationship with the previous staff under Will Muschamp. But now we're also hearing that he is going to take a visit to the Gamecocks program, David. But he really does like Michigan. It's probably going to be hard to get him out of there. His family's comfortable with the decision. He's comfortable with it. But he's probably going to see the school once. And if he sees it once, from what I'm told, he's probably going to come back and see it again. So it'll just be interesting to follow. I'm with you. He's the best back in the state. I personally, I said this last year, and people jumped on me about it. I personally think he's the best back in the state since Marcus Lattimore. I personally think that. But what do you think?
I don't put him in that category, but
not in that category.
High school.
I mean,
Marcus Lattimore as a high school running back was phenomenal. The only one that I would compare to Marcus Lattimore, well, there were two. Demetrius Summers, who, as we find out, was slightly older than most of the people he played with at that time. And and then, I mean, my favorite all-time back that I've covered is Steve Davis at Spartanburg. Played in the NFL for 8 years. I mean, the guy was incredible. I mean, he was 6'2", 230, ran a 4.4, run over people, run by people. It's just incredible athlete.
Well, don't misunderstand me now.
Kind of look like Bo Jackson running the football. To be honest with you. But, with CJ, what?
No, I'm just saying, don't misunderstand me. I didn't. If I said it incorrectly, I'm not comparing him to Marcus Lattimore. I'm saying I think he's the best back to come out of the state since Marcus Lattimore.
Yeah, could be. I mean, you could argue a few guys, but with the thing about Carolina, I think obviously has a good relationship with Eric Kimry.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, South Carolina is in the middle of right in his hometown. So you're looking for something to do on a Saturday. I think he can get tickets, get passes. You know, if he calls Eric on a Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, says, like, come to game tonight, they're going to let him come. I spoke with him in August at length, and I just got the sense that he wanted to get away from home. Because I even threw it out there, man, it snows up there, the same thing all these other people say about, you're going to Syracuse? Are you kidding me? But he just seemed very comfortable with his decision. I did not get the sense talking to him, and we probably chatted for about a half hour. I just didn't get the sense that when I hung up, I was like, you know what? He could be turned. I didn't get that. And sometimes I do get that sense. But he may end up in South Carolina. But I think South Carolina's running back room is
right there.
It's kind of crowded right now. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
They're going to feature their backs, and I don't know what Michigan's got, but I think CJ sees a really good opportunity at Michigan.
Yeah.
So I mean, who knows? Kids change their mind all the time. Nothing's official, but and a lot can happen between now and, say, December, the first signing day. What if Michigan is 3-7 and Harbaugh is again on the hot seat, and maybe they're going to make a change, and then South Carolina wins some games and running backs get a lot of production. Things could happen. I just didn't get the sense, in August talking to him that he was gonna that he was not firm and comfortable in his decision that he made.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I've not that I talked to CJ Stokes, but from what I understand, he really likes that decision. It'd probably take a lot to sway him to stay in state, whether it's Carolina or Clemson or whomever. Heck, Coastal these days. By the way, they're in the top 25. David, how about West Ashley and Goose Creek staying in the same game here? Are they playing tomorrow?
Yeah, they're scheduled to play
3 for 3.
9 o'clock on Thursday.
All right,
they are slated to play, and that'll be West Ashley's first game, be Goose Creek's second game. It's going to be a really good game. These are two of the better teams, two of the better running backs in the area. Probably the two best running backs in the area, and West Ashley is going to be chomping at the bit to get out there and prove that they're worthy of all their preseason accolades and expectations. And having not played yet, maybe they're going to be a little messy, but Goose Creek got to play last week minus several starters because they just wanted to play, and they took a thumping at Blythewood, but really played, not bad. There were some issues on the offensive line because that's where they were hit with quarantine. Pretty sure, almost positive, that situation's been resolved. So they should be as close to at full strength as possible. So I think you're going to see a really good game. I think the two teams will get after it. They'll be physical. So as openers or as games go, other than the Fort D Dorman game, that is clearly the second best game in the area.
I bet you're going to be stuck with the TV game this week again, aren't you?
Is that the Fort Dorchester Dorman game?
It sure is.
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be down there. I'll be the one shooting pellets at the Red Hat every time he steps out there to stop that game. We got to take a commercial break. No, we don't.
No, you don't. Just kick off.
Well, talk to us about it. Zoltan Osborne, I see, is the Low Country Player of the Week in the Post and Courier, quarterback for the Patriots. He's a good one. He's a good one. Fort D, once again, is solid. Dorman University is always pretty solid as well. I say that because if anybody's ever seen Dorman's campus from I-26, it looks like a college. So they're going to come down here, and the Cavaliers and the Patriots are going to do business up there at Fort Dorchester.
And I think it's going to be a really good game. Dorman lost their opener, kind of shocked everybody. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with Dorman?" Then they come back last week and beat Boiling Springs at 5A team, 33-0. They come down here tomorrow with, some new guys at quarterback and at running back, but their offensive line is Legit. They got two junior major prospects, Marquis Anderson, and DJ Guest, who are getting big time offers. And they're both juniors. The strength of Fort Dorchester is their defensive line. So we have got a war of wills. The two lines will get after it. Dorman's pretty good on defense. Like you said, Zoltan is Zoltan. Got off to a great start last week. Threw 3 touchdowns and 330 yards. And I talked to somebody who was there, and they were like, "Yeah, he could have threw 6 or 7 if that would have been the game plan."
Wow.
But they got down close and ran the ball in, which I was a little concerned about the running game, and that was fairly productive last week against Carolina Forest. That game was I thought was going to be closer than it actually was. That just kind of tells you where Ford is. But I mean, Dorman's a top 10 team. If Dorman had not lost their opener in the media poll, they would have probably been ranked 3rd or 4th in the state right now. I think they're 7th or 8th. And Ford is ranked number 2. So you would have been looking legitimately, they're 2 top 5 teams. And kind of like a championship game type level game. I mean, it's going to be 2 really good teams. And, Dorman's got quite the history, and so does Fort. So, I mean, we're looking at exciting game minus the red hat.
Does Zoltan Osborne carry any offers yet that you know of?
No, he does not. He went to some camps this summer and nobody bid, but I think some people are waiting on some tape. I mean, he's still a junior. He's one game into his junior year.
Yeah.
I think people are waiting to see some tape of him. I mean, if they got the tape from Friday night, I would offer him. I can't see him not getting several offers, particularly, ACC type offers. I mean, watching him play, and I've seen him since his freshman year, and I've seen him in 7-on-7. I've seen him in games. I've watched him. I mean, I've literally went to practice and just watched him. An NC State, a Wake Forest, Boston College, anybody in the ACC that needs a guy that can spin it. I mean, he's that guy. I mean, Coastal, their guys are redshirt sophomores, so by the time Zoltan comes out, they'll be looking for a quarterback. I certainly think he can play there. I think Charleston Southern would be crazy not to offer that guy. Not that they would get him. I'm not saying they would get him, but if I'm Charleston Southern, I would have already offered him. I mean, he was at their 7-on-7. They saw him. I don't know what, maybe he doesn't run enough for their offense, but the guy can throw the football. There's no question he can throw it.
How much bigger does he look now? I think it was your preview article that I was going through yesterday where you mentioned that LaPrade said he's put on about 30 pounds. Does he look that much bigger? I mean, does he have the college body now?
Oh yeah. He's a solid 200 right now. He was probably, he was in the 170, 175 range, back, I guess last year maybe. He's about, 6'2", about 200 pounds. He worked a lot on his footwork and speed. I mean, he's not a slow guy. He's just not a runner. But he will run more this year. I think he's trying to expand his game. But I mean, anybody that recruits him is going to recruit him because of the way he throws the football. He's very accurate. You'll see that tomorrow when he misses a throw, it won't be by much. He's not going to overthrow a guy by 20 yards. He's going to overthrow a guy by 2 yards. And many times you're going to be going, I should have caught that ball. Now, granted, I mean, I don't think he's, Peyton Manning or Trevor Lawrence or anything like that. But I definitely think he's a Division I quarterback.
I actually have some of his highlights pulled up on one of my computers here from last year, his sophomore year, and yeah, I mean, I've seen him play before, but it's just a reminder he's got a hose on him. I mean, he can let it rip.
There are a few sophomore quarterbacks that I've ever seen.
Wow,
that could throw in a tight window 40, 40-yard bombs. Well, we don't. Well, I guess they're not bombs anymore. But 40 yards is a good throw, and hit a guy right in stride. Right where it has to be. I just don't see that often from sophomore quarterbacks. There have been some, the Willie Corns of the world, and I'm sure Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, those kind of guys. But me personally seeing it, I haven't seen many. I mean, you just kind of go, wow, that was a really good throw.
Yeah, he is impressive. 6'2", 200 is what he's listed at. All right, before I let you run here, this game is not in the area. I'm pretty much assuming that this one is still on as well, but could be the biggest game of state in the Midlands. Dutch Fork is going to host Burns. Burns is 2-0. Dutch Fork, of course, is 1-0. And so far this year, those wins for the Rebels, they pounded Greer by 41 something like that, 41 points. And then they beat Chapman last week by 10. But not sure how much you know about Burns just yet. Everybody knows about Dutch Fork, and obviously they're still reeling from the loss of that young man up there on the offensive line. A horrible story from Dutch Fork High School. But what do you know about the ball game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game. I think Burns is a very good measuring stick. I thought beating Chapman last week was a good win. Chapman's going to be hanging around the 3A state finals. That's a really good win. But this is Dutch Fork, so it'll be definitely a measuring stick as to where they are. Dutch Fork is already really good, and now they've got a lot of motivation. They're going to be so fired up to play the game for this kid, and that could be a bad night for Burns. But if Burns can keep this thing close somehow through the half, when emotions settle down and everything, Burns has got a shot. I don't think they're going to beat Dutch Fork, but they are better than they have been, and they are. They got 2 games in. So, I mean, that counts a lot right now. A lot of these teams haven't played. I've got a story running tomorrow about teams that haven't even played yet. Mm-hmm. And Burns is going to be playing their 3rd game. So, I mean, that's going to make a difference in terms of just being in the execution and things like that. But, boy, I tell you, Dutch Fork never needs extra motivation, and they got it. And I think that's going to make them very tough to beat.
Yeah, I think it's very well said. It's still a terrible story. Speaking of teams that haven't played, a little rivalry up there in the PD tomorrow night, Myrtle Beach and Conway. Neither one of them have played this year, but they're scheduled to go tomorrow night. So if you're up in that area,
they're not going tomorrow.
Oh,
they're not going tomorrow.
They're off.
Yeah, they're COVID still.
See,
yeah, they're not playing.
Damn it! I almost got through the whole segment without running into a game that was called off, and the last just. That's poor.
I did see a report, not sure who I saw it from, while we were talking to you, David, that the Gaffney game is off tomorrow as well. I'm not saying that's true, but you can work to verify it if you can't already.
Yeah. Gaffney's looking for an opponent. Well, they were looking for an opponent. They got found out like Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
In fact, they put out a tweet that kind of shaming all the coaches who need games and won't come play Gaffney. Like you don't need to be so scared and all that kind of mess. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, that's not going to get you a game.
They do know we're in a pandemic right now, right?
Yeah.
But I think there are some teams out there that are available, and Gaffney has made some contact, and there was no interest, and I think they're just kind of frustrated. I mean, not had a game last week. Had Somerville not done it, I mean, they would have been without a game. So these coaches are, man, they're creatures of habit. They don't want to have off weeks. I got a story on Cross. Cross has missed 3 games, and they won't play until next week, and that's a region opener.
Oof.
They've been on quarantine since July 3 times.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Like they come off, they get a practice or 2 in, contact tracing, they're all down. And they do it. They've been doing more Zoom meetings, than they have actual practices. Yesterday, Sean Wright said they came off quarantine, and he thinks that might have been their 9th practice. And practices started July 31st. So they've had 1 scrimmage and like 9 practices. So imagine those kids are stir crazy. I mean, they're like, hey, we need to play.
Yeah.
We need to go play a rec league team. We need to play.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible. It's terrible.
They could play the Sycamores.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the bishops, not the BE bishops. We'll let you run on that note. Have fun. You and Darren up there tomorrow night sharing his Kraft mac and cheese. Y'all enjoy that.
Yeah. Oh, no thanks. I'll stop by Chick-fil-A on the way.
Yeah, I'm with you. Thank you, David.
All right.
Later.
You take care.
Yes, sir. There you go, David Shelton with the Post and Courier on this week's what's left of it high school football schedule. The Motley Rice team fights every day for Americans who were injured while traveling on a plane or on a bus, or who've been harmed by medical drugs or devices, burdened by auto recalls like the Takata airbag debacle, and more. Headquartered in the Palmetto State in Mount Pleasant, MotleyRice.com. They've never forgotten their local roots, and we certainly appreciate their contribution to the JB and Goldwater show and tomorrow's inaugural and the rest of them. Big Gamecock preview show right here on our program. All right, it is time to take our final time out of the afternoon. When we return, we'll update you from the Tour Championship over there in hot Atlanta with Scott Glaze out there at Stono Ferry. Hang tight. JB and Goldwater show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. We'll be right back.
Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater show and the Big Gamecock preview show. Visit MotleyRice.com for more. MotleyRice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at StokesVW.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or StokesVW.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
You were listening to the JB and Goldwater show, live, loud, and online.
$138. Final segment on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome back, the JB and Goldwater show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. Scott Glaze joining us from the original and the beautiful Hollywood, South Carolina. He is the golf pro out there at Stono Ferry, and he's probably not working at all because the Tour Championship is on over in Atlanta. I'm sure you're watching. What's up, man?
What's going on? I'm actually working quite hard today. So I haven't seen any of it. Had 3 lessons this morning already, and just getting stuff in gear for Labor Day weekend. So it's nice and busy over here, but that's the way we like it. But yeah, Tour Championship, man, awesome weekend last weekend. Way to cap it off with an epic playoff. DeChambeau and Cantlay there. I thought it was so interesting, the contrasting styles of golf and the great putting that Patrick Cantlay showed, and how DeChambeau couldn't get the ball in the hole. And so really, I think that builds a lot of excitement going into the Tour Championship this week, especially since we've got some grumblings of other stuff going on, of heckling and things of that nature. So a lot of eyeballs going to be on East Lake in Atlanta. We're having some nice weather here. I don't know how hot it is there.
It's awesome.
Hopefully it's nice out there, and the PGA Tour season, just like that, is a wrap. But then we'll start back up like 2 weeks later with the wraparound season. But we won't see these big names other than the Ryder Cup. We won't see these big names for a little while after this week.
All right, so JT and Cameron Smith are teeing off right now. And then there's still Rahm, DeChambeau, Finau, and Cantlay to start today. So we'll get into all that in just a minute. The current leaderboard has Hovland and Spieth at 5 under, but let's remember, when Cantlay tees off, he starts at 10 under. Finau starts at 8 under. DeChambeau starts at 7 under. John Rahm starts at 6 under. So they're all going to, jump to the top of the leaderboard, and then Hovland and Spieth, they are theoretically tied for 5th right now, even though they're at the top of the leaderboard of players that are on the course. But just hold on before we get to that. So what's the deal with all the drama and the heckling? Fill us in on this.
So KVV, Keith Van Valkenburg, I think is how you pronounce his name, senior golf writer for ESPN. He had an article came out. It might have been Sunday night after the BMW, talking about how furious basically Bryson was walking from the 18th green to the clubhouse. Somebody shouted Brooksy to him or something along those lines, and Bryson kind of lost it on for a second, and according to KVV, had real rage in his eyes. It's something that has been going on with this Brooks and Bryson feud. I think it goes back to the Memorial. I think that was the first time we saw it, when Bryson was having fans removed from the gallery because they were calling him Brooksy. Like, here we go, Brooksy, let's go, Brooksy, that type stuff towards Bryson.
Is it the trademark of a golfer, the ability to block out this stuff? Like, isn't that what part of your DNA if you're going to play golf at this level?
Exactly. I mean, I remember a story. I mean, Tiger so famously did it, but I remember a story of David Duval back when David Duval was at the height of his powers, and they were playing somewhere in a golf course within a neighborhood, something like a Murfield Village, something like that. And somebody's in their backyard starting a weed eater right in David Duval's backswing. And he hit a nice shot, but somebody asked him after the round, gosh, interesting situation over there on 8. Couldn't believe that, that weed eater, the guy started the weed eater in your backswing. And David Duval said, "What weed eater?" So it's just the fact that these guys, you have to be able to block it out. Bryson, I think it's such an interesting situation and is different because I think Bryson brings it upon himself. I mean, he is more, I think he's more of he was always
grow a pair.
Right. He's always been the mad scientist. And, that was kind of his MO coming out with his knowledge in physics and how he's the mad scientist and he's going to do X, Y, and Z such different ways, all the stuff with the Greens books. But really, as time goes on, it just seems more of a circus follows Bryson. And it's kind of more of a WWE type deal. The only thing is that he's not, I don't think he's trying to be the heel, but he is. So it's strange, but anyway, in regards to what happened, it forced the PGA Tour to then come out and say that type of heckling will not be allowed. I know some people that are going to be in Eastlake this week, and I said, can you please, for research purposes, can you try to use the term Brooksy and see if you get kicked out or not? But supposedly, that would violate the fan conduct policy. I thought there were some funny takes. James Hahn, he had a take that said, well, now, Bryson can only be called by his name. So, I will not be allowing anyone to refer to me as Siwoo Kim or some other Asian-born players out there. I thought that was really funny.
Lee Westwood had one too. I mean, did the PGA Tour make a mistake? Did they make a mistake bending over for Bryson when they haven't banned heckling of anybody else really ever?
Yeah, I mean, I saw some great stuff too of mashed potatoes and Baba Booey and all that type of stuff that's going on for years and years.
They've opened up the door, man.
Yeah, we can have that, but you can't, call Bryson by something he doesn't want to be called. I think the tour, clearly they're looking to protect Bryson, but
look, what needs to happen? Somebody needs to call Brooks Bryson and have him just keep walking. And he goes down and then he puts the ball in the hole and he flips Bryson DeChambeau the bird as he walked off and says, see, it's not that hard. Who cares? Right. Grow up.
Yeah. I find it kind of baffling. I would be embarrassed if I was Bryson,
it's embarrassing.
Your actions have now caused all of this ruckus, so to speak. I was kind of thinking that it was an act for a while between Brooks and Bryson, but maybe it's not. I mean, clearly it is under Bryson's skin. I know Brooks Koepka is sitting back somewhere chuckling because he has built an entire condo in Bryson's head, apparently. And it's going to be interesting with the Ryder Cup coming up because we did see in the playoff last week with Patrick Cantlay and DeChambeau, there was some kind of heated moments, some icy glares between those two. So don't think they really like each other. Clearly Brooks and Bryson have this feud. We've got Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka, who had a feud in the last Ryder Cup. So, I mean, I don't know. It's more like an episode of Days of Our Lives when it comes to the U.S. upcoming Ryder Cup team than it is golf. But
so the couple, who else is the captain? Couples the captain. Who else?
Phil Mickelson and Fred Couples, it was announced yesterday they were going to be assistant captains. So this will be the first time, I think, since 1995 that Phil Mickelson has not played in a Ryder Cup. Okay. For a while, it was looking like he might be a captain's pick, especially after winning the PGA Championship, but he just has not played good enough golf since May to warrant being picked by Steve Stricker. Steve Stricker is the captain of the team. He also announced that Tiger will not be in Wisconsin. There were some grumblings that Tiger could potentially be an assistant captain or act as an assistant captain. Really kind of give a good rah-rah feeling up there, but he will not be making the trip. And we have 6 guys that have already punched their tickets. They're already on the team. It's Cantlay, Justin Thomas, DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson, Colin Morikawa, and Brooks Koepka. So those 6
pretty good group.
It's a great group. I mean, we really, the United States on paper, just like in 2018, is going to be massive favorites. But in 2018, the Europeans really set up the golf course in France the way that played to all the disadvantages of the American team. They were able to clip the American team. And when you go on down the list of potential picks, the American team is going to be really strong. I think Tony Finau is basically a lock after his win at the Northern Trust. I think Spieth is going to be a lock. That's really exciting. That's coming up here at the end of the month. And we've got a couple guys that could be playing for a pick this week. I mean, I'm keeping my eyes on Harris English. I think he deserves a spot on the Ryder Cup team. I think he will play well this week, especially with the way his career is, the kind of ebbs and flows and ups and downs of his career. He almost lost his card. He had to go to the Korn Ferry Finals, I believe, 3 years ago. So low point in his career, and now he's top 10 player in the world, should be on the American Ryder Cup team, knocking on the door for major championships, multiple-time winner. So I think he will be a pick, but I think in his mind, he needs to play well this week with this opportunity to make the team. So a couple guys like that. Sam Burns is another guy, Scotty Scheffler, that are in the field this week that are going to be around the fringe of being captain's picks. So that will give an extra little flavor to watching this week. Those guys, if they can play their way onto the team.
Can the U.S. win the Ryder Cup if everybody hates each other on the team?
I don't know, because you got to play 4 matches in a team setting before we go to singles on Sunday. So you got to be able to get along with some guys. It's going to be interesting to see. They assembled the Ryder Cup task force several years ago, where they tried to create these pods and get guys to hang out throughout the year, go to dinners, really kind of form a strategy for these Ryder Cup teams. So we'll see what the task force has in mind when it comes to guys with these big personalities like Bryson, Brooks. Hopefully these guys can just suck it up and play together. But in terms of, this will be different than 2018 in France. This golf course, Whistling Straits, is going to be set up like these Americans like to play. They'll be able to bomb the ball basically probably anywhere. And then wedge it up on the green. We'll probably see a lot of birdies in the Ryder Cup. Whereas in France, the Europeans set it up shorter, tight, very narrow, lots of dog legs. Put a premium on ball striking and accuracy, and kind of notoriously, a lot of the American players, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, Justin Thomas, are the bomb and gouge type guys. So that is the advantage of having a home game, is you can set up the golf course how you want it. But I don't know. I would like to say I think we can. The United States should be able to win handily, but with all this drama, you never know.
Adam just commented here. Pretty much, yeah. Everybody hates everybody. That's essentially how it works. Well, they're all playing for themselves right now, and a big $15 million payday if they can get through this weekend. Nobody is now at 5 under. They have who was it? I don't even know who. Spieth and Hovland. They were 5 under. Yeah, they're gone. Well, never mind. Here comes Cameron Smith. Woo! Well, that's because he teed off at 5 under. So he's up there leading this thing of players that are on the course. But Cantlay, of course, will go in a few minutes, and he'll be the leader to start.
And today is the only confusing time with this leaderboard, with the staggered start of really the only time it's confusing. After today, it's going to feel much like a regular golf tournament. I mean, they will say, well, he did start the event at 6 under or whatever it may be. But today's the only kind of strange day where Patrick Cantlay, he puts the peg in the ground and he's got a 2-shot lead at 10 under par. But as the weekend flows, it'll feel a lot more comfortable.
So, Atlanta did just get a bunch of rain. So there was some spin-off rain from the hurricane. God bless everybody that sucker's gone through. Even the Northeast is flooded now. It's crazy.
The road to Rutgers Stadium is totally impassably underwater at the moment. They have I want to say they're home on Saturday.
Yeah, right. It got moved. There's a game tonight that got moved. Rutgers and Temple. That was supposed to be tonight, and they moved it to Saturday, right?
Okay, maybe so you can drive to the stadium.
Probably, yeah. So I don't know what conditions are necessarily like. I know the weather's nice over there now, but I don't know, how the weather necessarily impacted the course, Scott. But kind of break this thing down for us. Only 30 players. So what are we paying attention to here?
Only 30 players. These are the best of the year, so to speak. These guys have played their way here. So these are the guys that are in the best form. Now, there are some guys that are not playing as good golf as others. I would say Dustin Johnson, probably one of those. He was playing a lot better earlier in the year, racked up a lot of FedEx Cup points, was able to still kind of coast into the Tour Championship here. But, yeah, this is a culmination of the season-long FedEx Cup. We do have the staggered start. And I think especially if the golf course played or had some rain, golf course is going to play soft, probably play a little bit easier. East Lake is not an easy test. It is a par 70 classic course. This is the home of Bobby Jones golf course that He grew up playing. The golf course really had some bad times back, 20, 30 years ago. It was restored, brought back to its glory, and now hosts the Tour Championship every year. They reverse the nines for this golf tournament. So hole one for the Tour Championship is normally the 10th hole. So the 18th hole is usually the 9th hole.
Do they do that do they do it every year? Is that just flipped from what the average person would play?
Right. So if you're a member at East Lake, you're going to play the golf course with the nines flipped, but they reverse them for the Tour Championship, for the drama of finishing on a par 5 there with water in play. And East Lake is unique in that normally in its normal routing, it finishes with a par 3. And gosh, we never see that. But it can finishing on a par 3 in the past in the FedEx Cup, in the early days of the FedEx Cup before they switched to the nines. Could lead to some anticlimactic finishes. So they switched it so that they could have the 9th hole there be the exciting par 5. But it is a classic golf course, built in the golden age of golf course architecture back in the 20s, 30s, and is usually a test for these guys. Usually plays greens, especially plays pretty firm. But if some rain came through, we're going to see more of what we see a lot on the PGA Tour, which is a dart throwing competition. We saw it last week. Caves Valley played very, very soft. 27 under par, 1 for a 4-day total, which is wild. It's a lot of birdies there. I don't think we're going to see the same type of golf course out of East Lake. It does put a little bit more of a premium on driving. We got some thick Bermuda rough lining the fairways and the greens there. But you certainly, just with any golf course, you hit the ball out of play, it's going to be tough to score.
Not to interrupt you here, I'm not sure what happened or if you can see it, but Hovland had dropped to 4 under with a bogey on 4. He birdied 2 and 3, bogeyed 4, and he just punched in a 2 on the par 4 5th. So
nice.
He's in the lead. He's 3 under today through 5 at 6 under.
Yeah, it says here on PGAtour.com, he hit a 334-yard drive down the left side, 128 yards out, and knocked it in the hole. So that's a good way to.
I thought you were about to say he hit it in from 334.
That's how you overcome a bogey.
Right. But this week, one thing we have not seen in the FedEx Cup I think this is the 3rd year that we have the staggered start so that the winner of the Tour Championship is the winner of the FedEx Cup. That was the goal with that the PGA Tour had in starting the tournament this way, because we can think back to 2018 when Tiger won the Tour Championship, but he didn't win the FedEx Cup. Justin Rose won the FedEx Cup. So they wanted to eliminate that confusion. And rightfully so, the elation that everybody had when Tiger won the Tour Championship, but he wasn't your FedEx Cup champion. So they wanted that elation to be for the Tour champion and the FedEx Cup champion. So that's why we have this start. But we have not seen someone at the top, like a Patrick Cantlay, who's starting with a 2-shot lead at 10 under, to then really tumble down the leaderboard, which they have the opportunity to do. You theoretically could start first and finish 30th if you don't play well, and that's a lot of money to lose. That goes from $15 million to $400,000 right there if you went from first to 30th. We have not seen that, and don't wish that on Patrick. $400,000 is still a lot of money, but $15 million is quite a lot on the line there. I think that brings an interesting element this week is the money that is involved, and moving up and down the leaderboard is going to be worth a lot, especially for these guys that this event is career defining. Think of like Sam Burns, a young guy. I think he'll be around for a while, but it's a lot of money that Sam Burns hadn't made yet in his career. Somebody like Jason Kokrak, Corey Connors, Scotty Scheffler, Eric Van Rooyen, he won a few weeks ago, might have been in jeopardy of not keeping his card. Won at I think it was the Barracuda, the opposite field event, and then played his way into the Tour Championship, which is going to change his life, next year and in the years beyond, just from what this event earns you, so to speak, on the PGA Tour, getting into major championships, getting into the World Golf Championships, and then potentially winning a lot of money. You can back up the Brinks truck.
Who wins?
I think it's gonna be hard to beat Jon Rahm. He was not. He still played well last week, but he's been the hottest player on tour. I don't think Cantlay putted out of his mind last week. He made, I think it was inside of 5 feet. He was 41 of 41.
Wow.
Yeah, he did not miss from 5 feet and in. Go out to a putting green next time you're at a golf course and walk off 5 feet. I mean, there are plenty of 5-footers that can be testy. So he made every single 5-footer. He was 10 of 12, I think, from 10 to 15 feet. He gained 14 strokes on the field, which is a record in the history of strokes gained. No one has ever gained that many strokes putting. It was a little over 14 strokes. And the stat's been kept, I think, since 2003 or 2004. So I do think Cantlay will have a good week. It always helps to start a tournament with a lead and start a tournament at 10 under par. But I think he's going to get caught from behind. I think Jon Rahm, somebody to look out for. Rory McIlroy is quickly playing his way into contention. He's 2 under today, which puts him at 4 under. And Rory has had success here being a former FedEx Cup champion and tour champion. But I just think Jon Rahm has got the firepower. As I say that, he's birdied the first hole. So now he's at -7. And I think it's just he's a freight train right now. It's going to be tough to stop him, especially in such a limited field with only the other 29 other guys out there. The cream certainly rises to the top.
Now Cantlay and Finau are teeing off. So that's it. Everybody is now on the course, and Jon Rahm is 3 shots back of Patrick Cantlay, who will start the tournament 10 under and will wake up on Monday morning with Jon Rahm, according to Scott Glaze, as this year's FedEx Cup champion. You can be a champion by booking a tee time at Stone Ferry Golf, stoneferrygolf.com, one of the most beautiful courses that we have in the Low Country, that we have in the state. And there are tee times available this weekend if you want to take a couple buddies out there. There's some mid-morning Saturday. You got some after. It's actually going to be a beautiful weekend. It's supposed to not be as humid. So it's a great weekend to play golf. We all understand what starts on Saturday, college football. We get it. But if you want to get out there and play some golf and your guys aren't playing until Saturday night, do it. And there is no college football on Sunday afternoon, so get out there and play and then come home and watch completion of the FedEx Cup over there at East Lake. Scott, we'll let you run on that note. We just planned everybody's weekend for them, so I hope you take care of them.
I got a lot of tee times. Let's see, on Saturday. Let's see, you can Clemson, Georgia's what, a 7:30 kick, 7 o'clock kick?
Yeah, it's a night game.
Yeah, you can come out at noon, lunchtime. You get a round in. You got plenty of time to get ready for.
Carolina's a night game too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, even better.
Yeah, and the Citadel's playing tonight. So I mean, and the College of Charleston's off this weekend.
Yeah, that's true. They'll be off for a while, not due to COVID.
I'm pretty sure that football program has been eliminated. Scott, we'll let you run, brother. Great stuff. Really looking forward to watching this weekend. This is going to be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a lot. This is going to be a lot of fun. Last year's was great. I anticipate this one being the exact same. What a weekend for sports, with football, golf, baseball still going on. Go Braves!
And don't forget, Solheim Cup is going on, which is the women's Ryder Cup, and that's going to be Saturday, Sunday, and that's actually they're gonna finish on Monday with singles, and they're playing at Inverness in Ohio, which is a spectacular golf course. And the Americans just lost in 2019 on literally the last hole, the last putt. So they're looking to win the Solheim Cup back. That's going to be exciting in golf too.
Go USA! They win this weekend. Wando beats Somerville 75-0. It's going to be a great weekend. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, guys. We'll see y'all.
I'm not drinking. I'm just stupid. That's all. All right, we're out of time. Speaking of drinking, Whiskey Jam. It's football season. Try it out. Blackberry Whiskey Jam. Do they have any of that at Dog and Duck?
I got to check.
You need to find out. If not, they need it. Oh, it's so good. It really is tasty. My tailgate will have it on Saturday. I know that. Can't wait. Tomorrow, the debut of the Big Gamecock Preview Show right here on JB and Goldwater at 1 o'clock. JC Sherbert, Michael Flint will be a part of that with Darren and I. And at noon, we'll have you covered on the betting side of things. We'll start picking our games. It's going to be a lot of fun. Fridays, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. Thanks to Scott Glaze, David Shelton. Thanks to Darren and all of you. Have a thirsty Thursday. Football's back tonight. Go Dogs. We'll see you tomorrow at noon on the JB and Goldwater Show.